Yeah, I have Morals and Dogma, and I have recorded some of it into audiobooks, or hour-long YouTube videos. But yeah, it's mind-blowing stuff, and like every page is pure gold. It's just you can talk to a lot of Freemasons or
Yeah,
Christians.
and
Yeah,
like when you like said like the questions of the Sphinx, like that's you directly pulled from Morals and Dogma. That's what sort of like triggered this conversation that we're having now was like you were pulling from some of that esoteric knowledge. Um,
yeah.
it's really
The
good. Yeah.
Sphinx the Sphinx thing is really special because it's like Egyptian, but it's more of like an analog saying, "Just tell me the answer to the super secret riddle." That's technically what all these atheist debate rooms are all about. But nobody's really getting there and trying to actually say, hey, this is what these books say about that. Because that's the same question of does God, that's the same question as is does God exist? You know? So,
For me, what I don't understand with like a theist, right? The atheist, is that why are they like atheists? Apathetic atheists. It's like live your life. Don't be dogmatic about whether God exists or not. And like they're really like the ones actually deeply searching for God in their life. Like it's so crazy. It's like if you were an actual atheist, you'd be an apathetic one.
I was thinking about Scientology and organizations and like automation and perpetuity, meaning that like you could create a cult, and if you ran it like a business, what's really the difference between a major corporation and a cult? Like Google is technically a cult, like a corporation becomes a cult in many ways, and many of the employees don't realize that technically they are in a hive and they are serving some type of a queen bee, and they're either a drone which does exterior work and gathering, or they do internal work and organization for the queen. So the thing is, every system kind of parallels this queen and drone relationship to a certain extent, even like esoteric
But some of
Judaism or
these,
Kabbalah.
yeah, but some of these, businesses become sclerotic over time by the sort of, communication that's being hypnotized throughout the cult members. It becomes sclerotic. It becomes uh, like top-down managerial bureaucratic, and the efficiency just decreases over time over whatever the mission, goal, purpose was for that business. So, yeah, I get it. Like, but it's like there's like this thing, right, where with whatever sort of topic or discussion that you're having, if you can date back to like the origination of it. So, like for example, Christianity, we're still talking about Jesus 2,000 years from the moment that it was originated. So that means for 2,000 years more, Christianity is still what you talked about. So it's like you kind of double the sort of the half life of whatever sort of organization that you have. But it's not really like a standard tool, But yeah,
Well, Chairman Massey is the only person who voted no on the debt ceiling increase. So there's only one guy who can claim to wear a Clown World T-shirt. It's Massey, and you go to his X account. 9 hours ago, he posted a T-shirt of himself with a Clown World. So you know, I like Trump, but let's be honest. If he shut the government down, he'd be a real patriot. But he's not.
but I've been hearing predictions like the second or third quarter, like of this year, that there might be a recession. So, and I was hearing this like 6 or 8 months ago of last year that it has to happen. Like America has to go through, to fix the sort of economic spot, like downturn spiral that we're going in, and like how money has just like inflated away.
Yeah, but there's no such thing. That's an all or nothing statement saying it has to, because you could like technically roll a die and keep getting sixes, and you're like, how the fuck is this possible? What in the fuck? But statistically, it can happen. So it's like people who play the lottery. They say somebody's got to win. Could be me. If you, this is the biggest proof that people don't read what they're doing. That if you look at the back of a scratch lottery ticket, you will realize you have to buy 5 just to break even. Um, and then you might not even hit that stat. So, but if you just look at the table, just do yourself a favor next time, buy a $1 scratch lottery ticket and actually read in the fine print what it says and really read it out loud, because like you kind of have to like read it to truly comprehend what it's saying. And once you realize that the odds are so bad that everybody who plays is technically losing, 85% on every dollar that they put in or more, it's like, the same thing with the casino. Technically, again, I think all this deals with communication hypnosis. So, like, you could go to the casino and play slot machines, and what they're really doing is just looking at a blown up version of their cell phone and putting money into it. So,
last night, I read poetry from Ruby to my wife for about an hour.
Oh, wow.
It was really great. She really enjoyed it. She's not much of a reader, so like I was just like reading to her for about like an hour. And like we were trying to like do exegesis, we could like trying to sort of decode the message behind the message, and she really enjoyed it. Like it was very like, and I just want to like thank you for introducing me to like that poet. Ruby, really good stuff.
Yeah, I like his name because I think it creates more room. Essentially, he's like expansionism or space, and I think there's a reason why he's called Rumi. It's like A plus maybe rum I, like I drink rum because he's kind of like a drunken poet. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely a TM or a transcendental meditation document or publisher, creator. Like he can really create flow state and profound relaxation, in my opinion.
So yeah, I just wanted like I really like I'm at work, so I can't really just spew my shit, my diarrhea all over Clubhouse. So I just listen into all the shit that other people are throwing around. You're right, 100%. It's really stupid people talking about nothing when it really comes down to it.
Yeah, and it's like you got to keep reminding yourself that, because you can very easily slip into a hypnosis, in my opinion. But if you reframe, you're kind of always like in the clear. It's a little bit like essentially framing, I just framed a bunch of stuff in my house.
Yeah, like there's, I think I read to you like this really great piece about framing and like how it's
it's amazing. The reverse of it is also interesting, like getting kicked from people who like are living with like anxiety and hate and pain. And when they kick you, it's almost like you're kind of doing them a service, because maybe they'll have some reflection immediately saying, "Ugh, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why am I kicking somebody? Like, what is the point of all of this?" Like you're always kind of like, no matter what, you're always somehow process improving or optimizing, helpfully to yourself and to others. It's like just continuing. If you're doing it like in the spirit of like opposites or the Tao, I don't know. I'm in like a flow state, but I'm also like in that roomy drunken flow state, like smoking weed and drinking wine every day. But I'm functioning. But the thing is, I know that even if I were to go totally sober and not smoke any cannabis or drink any wine, it would just force me to be even more intense, more focused, more ruthless, no, like even less bullshit. It's like to even like to listen to a very toxic clown house room for 1 hour, for no reason. It's like I can't believe people listen to this shit. It's like I want to just like turn it the fuck off and listen to some music, but because I'm filming it, it seems to make it more of like a research project into psychology and self.
And that's so funny that you captured, Diego's and Nora's love story, on universe. That was really, that was a wonderful moment. I was like, wow, I can't believe like that this actually played out into like the greater sort of like news narrative ecosystem. It was really funny.
But imagine like having the money and the time to create an actual like movie or short or something where you actually get actors and actresses to read a script, to hear the story, and then perform that person, and then like actually film your own shit and publish it, and then it becomes like a success, and you're like, wow. It's because there are motifs, modalities, symbols, iconography, hieroglyphic within what, is a man and a woman. That's the whole Disney secret. And that's what the Zohar says. Where a man and a woman are united, you will feel the presence of the Holy One. So that's why any kind of romance, it's the symbol for God. Like the symbol for God or the crucifix is man and woman. Like that is the secret name of God in many ways, or Adam Kadmon, the first man, something to that extent.
Or the Jewish cross, like the Jewish star, it's a pyramid upwards and pyramid downwards. Yeah.
So I guess you could say that Hermetic mysticism, or or Platon or Neoplatonic or Platonism or whatever it is, the thing about God or the soul is it does deal with that gender aspect, above and below, below and above. It's just like saying man and woman. That's thus why I don't necessarily like taking advice from faggots.
It was so funny about like you saying like one of your friends I'm going to this dude's homosexual. I was just cracking of laughter when you said that.
But that's true. I'm sure a lot of gay men, have gone to therapy because they're like, I don't want to be gay, but fuck, I get turned on by fucking, dick and balls and bully. I think some gay guys probably, do not want to be gay because it's kind of like a curse, So.
Well, I heard that even King Solomon, he was bisexual, right?
Crowley talks about that, where it's like in this age there is a tendency for bisexuality and homosexuality, but I think that is like the spiritual aspect of the androgyne figure and getting closer to God, because God is non-gendered. So but you could say God is not non-gendered. God is man and woman. So again, this is like a hypnosis where you're like, shut up, faggot. Shut the fuck up. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, go do something. Say something more profound. You can just argue and argue and argue. But anyways, I think asking what is the practical application of this philosophy or psychology, in terms of like your life, my life, our lives, like, like how do we stop the bullshit and really begin optimizing? If it requires the personal if it requires the one to become the many, like if I am the start and you are the start, like what's the next step? What should I do? If you were to ask McZed that, he might be like, I don't know, you should probably start reading the Torah, and you'd be like, okay, well then, I'm just saying, like, you create a mentat, and like these Orthodox Jews, if they're really born and bred, like after a couple generations, they start really optimizing like their education, curriculum, their schedule. Like it's really, really optimized. And thus you get somebody like McZed who, is successful in the business world, but also successful in, the learned world of spirituality and wisdom. And so I don't know, to me, that's why Judaism, it's like, if you look at Dan Bilzerian's X account and you'll just be like, holy shit. Like Dan Bilzerian just doesn't know enough Jews. He doesn't understand like what they're even studying. Like they're not studying for war. They're studying for peace. But Bilzerian is the kind of guy who would twist that around and say, well, they're studying for peace because technically they're studying for war. And you'd be like, okay, then you know what? Fuck you too. It never ends. Like just study shit, get the wisdom, and shut the fuck up. Like stop with the bullshit. Like if you're not really academic, if you're not really... You know what I'm saying? Like people just want their opinions, and thus they want to do the will to power game or politics, but they're failing to actually study, understand, and then optimize without like stepping on toes, so to speak, or being nasty and obnoxious. Like you wanna have some style and grace.
Well, John, like for me, it was like, and you really like on this app like 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. That sort of like made me realize about the profundity of like now, like the profundity of like this very second, like the awareness of awareness. And I'll give you a second.
Yeah, the now is all important. And I do keep coming back to the now, and it's like hard to deny it because once you get back to the now, you stop with all the bullshit hypnosis and you're like, oh fuck, what would be best to do now? Well, maybe I should go do this and go do that. That would be more important than just keep running my mouth about the same thing over and over again. Like, I do like to say, like, essentially, I am a self-actualization hypnotist and comedian. I think that's like the best way to frame myself. Welcome, Jared. And then you can always go back to titles like dopamine communication, hypnosis, addiction virus. I mean, I think I can hear the birds outside my tree right now. I'm like, yeah, it's technically the same thing that's happening, but they don't have to pay property taxes. They don't have to pay water and garbage and sewer taxes. They don't have to pay income taxes. They don't have to pay sales taxes. It's like they're more free than us. Like we are working to just support bureaucracy and bad ideas and government spending. It's like this is insane. Without a ledger, I mean, in the same way that if all Bitcoin transactions are open ledger and publicly identifiable, how the fuck as a taxpayer can you not expect that same one-to-one? Otherwise, fuck it. Fuck this. And, fuck it. Like, fuck this. Like, it's got to be one-to-one. So, but that also means with Trump. It's like, dude, I want to know, what is the percentage of my federal income tax that went to Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman? Because honestly, we would be better off arming the population with 38 revolvers and ammunition and constitutions than continuing to fund overseas, intimidation. Fuck it. If the Chinese are going to take Taiwan, fuck it. You're going to send your grandkids over there to storm an island and take it back from the Chinese after they take it? Fuck
no.
No.
Way, man. No way. Like I'm a conscientious objector. My great-grandparents were the same thing. Like, I'm not just for, like, to be further indebted or, like, my lineage in the future for this country. Oh, no. I'm not doing that.
I don't know. I like Bob Marley music because everything you hear in there seems to like ring true. He's like, you can fool all the people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Like once you know the words, and then you're just like, okay, everything you're saying is bullshit because like it's a fucking ledger. It's a fucking balance statement. It is, just go to us.clock.org. The numbers don't lie. We could go. This is the craziest thing though, Chris, is that if we were really dishonest and immoral and we would just keep lying, it could be the actual better decision. And in many ways, I was like, well, I know Kamala Harris is a fucking demon rat, but she's going to spend so much money that like the fact is that the Federal Reserve is a chokehold or a bottleneck. In many ways, they are the problem. Like this separation from our Congress, our elected representatives, and the creation of money is a problem. It should be invested in the same institution. Because if there's unity as opposed to this separation or duality, it's basically saying that we have given away the republic's ability to perpetuate itself indefinitely. Like there could become a time when Congress is like, hey, we need more, and Federal Reserve is like, no, we don't advise it. And they're like, well, you got to do what we say. And they're like, well, in this case, we're not going to do it. Like that day could come, and then we're like, well, what do we do next? Well, we should have taken this problem away a long time ago. Like we should have dissolved it. revoked it. But Congress can't do it because everybody's so corrupt and greedy. So this is like the same problem that ancient Rome had with the senators. And, where is ancient Rome today? I mean, it's still fucking there.
Isn't it just like a whole bunch of numbers like being sent from one computer to the next? Like none of it really like physically exists. Like that, it's more about like the sort of productivity that comes into the expectations of increased profit.
The craziest thing is that the Federal Reserve and the IRS are technically brothers and sisters because the IRS is the tracking system and then the Federal Reserve is the creation system. But it's not one to one because a lot of people cheat on their taxes or they have special, legal and congressional legislation that gives them these huge tax breaks. So it's so complicated and convoluted and stupid that it is the basis of our entire economy, which is not the basis of an economy at all. Like we are living in smoke and mirrors and paper dragons, like beyond belief. The fact that your grocery store still even has fucking food in it is a miracle. Like, but people just can't stop seeming to want to work, because we do have robots. We already have automatons amongst us. Just go to your local grocery store, go anywhere where people are working menial labor jobs. Those are the automatons of society. Those are the people that can't stop moving or they die. So, I'm just saying that the Chinese, I've never been to China, but like if you are a very intelligent person, you probably wouldn't limit yourself to just one country and one economy. I mean, you will be a globalist. And so I can relate to globalism and globalists knowing that they're not the demons. They're just the ones that have organized themselves to such a high degree and they're so wealthy that they are now essentially competing in dimensional economics and linguistics, and those are very rare people. I was listening to Elon Musk last night. He is so hyperverbal and just so stupid that I think I'm a fucking genius compared to this guy because he wastes so much time talking about stupid shit. And I'm like, but he's not really, because he does put out all these very spot on memes about psychology and philosophy. And so it's like, you know what? It's like you can't really judge anybody because there is like there's just there's too much connectivity between income, government, products, fraud, honorable, virtuous character.
Do you think Elon Musk with his 200,000 GPU H100 cluster is running sort of like digital like avatars of himself and creating digital narratives that can then be implemented? No. Okay.
If anything, I bet you that fucker's mining Bitcoin. Or, do you even know how much he made from Doge? Like the actual shitcoin currency?
And a couple billion. Yeah, like a couple billion from what I've heard.
Dude, that alone is like a super huge success story. Like beyond belief. But, he has so much already that I bet you he never even liquidated it. Like that's the kind of guy he is where he doesn't, when you have that much money, like you can take out from the system as much as, you legally you want. Like look at Bezos. Now he's instructing the Washington Post to put out articles that only communicate individual liberty and capitalism. So like technically the whole system has been turned upside down because now free market, republicanism is the popular speech. So like we've had a huge victory with Trump and Elon, where even though we may have huge financial complications, at least we've corrected the communication piece, which is ultimately the biggest piece. So like we're in the clear. Like this has been like the biggest political success story. I mean, in the now ever for us. Like this is a big thing.
The secret societies in the intelligence communities, like these queer Marxist transgender faggots, like have you been like hearing that, like how they've infiltrated their communication poison throughout like the entire intelligence systems?
Yeah, they're everywhere. But the thing is, West Point, Citadel, VMI, Naval Academy, and many fraternities from major, Ivy League like Skull and Bones. Say what you want to say about any of these organizations. But you know what they ultimately rest upon? Which is the same principle of George Washington, which is really maximum liberation. So the philosophy is pretty, profound, and it's there. I mean, I know we have these insane, retarded queers who are essentially, very fucked up people who are in a lot of these positions, but nonetheless, you have their counterpoise with all these other people who are basically Freemasonic Christians, to a certain extent. I mean,
have you heard of these post-rationalists from San Francisco? They're called the Zizians. Zizians. They've killed already like 8 people. And they've like worked in AI and all this shit. It's really crazy.
See, conservatism and the Republic was under attack in the 60s, vehemently by the Weather Underground and all these other.
Yeah.
But it's not just Weather Underground, it's more than that. Like, there has always been radical breakaway Enlightenment American groups, because post World War II in Vietnam, like, we were super conservative, but we were even more conservative in the 20s and 30s. I have books on like sexuality and psychological research into the 20s and 30s. I mean, there was no sex outside of marriage. It was like very, it was beautiful. Like, things were really good in the 20s and 30s in this country, but over enough time, society apparently goes fucking queer and clownish and liberal. But that's the opportunity, for conservative people today to fight back against these things and say, hey, F word, N word. Like, when was the last time you went to the gym and read a book? But
technology allows for more of like societal rules to be broken. And so when technology increases, more and more like social laws and rules, the law of nature, they think that they could break it and eventually break society as a whole.
yeah, I mean, I always go back to Marcus Aurelius, because to me, he like really seems to be applicable today more so than like ever before. And he says be social and be political. So like, personally, I believe in that. Like, I want to be political and I want to be social, because the amazing thing is, when you're actually social and political, you can get people from the left to actually join you, because then they see through the words and they say, okay, I see the virtue, and I don't see this hypnosis. I see that this is a real person who has been kind to me and honest with me, and hasn't obfuscated or lied or hid or, so it's like, you can transform people's psychologies, which I think is a fun thing to do.
Yeah, so I have a Ukrainian coworker that I work with at the company that I'm at, and she absolutely hates Trump. That's all she can talk about is like how much she hates him. That's so funny. So it's like each sort of like social political thing is like I've been very true, and I kind of held my own virtues at work, and so it's like, how would I be able to deploy communication as a way to dehypnotize her from her derangement into hypnotizing her into something else?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way really is just love and balance with yourself, and then sharing that love and balance with her. And if she goes off on Trump, or she goes deranged on Trump, you don't respond by getting emotional or respond with the corollary or the opposite to what she's saying. You just give her love and silence. It's like doing meditation for someone who can't do meditation. So that's essentially the way to not have your flow state disrupted, because you want your flow state to continue so you can create a flow state for her. Like, that is the subversive way, but really the smart way to do it, because it's not subversive, but like, some people could say that that's subversive or synthetic, but I say it's not. Like, it's actually true, because once you solve the riddle of the Sphinx, you're like, this fucking idiot hasn't solved the riddle of the Sphinx, So you're basically once you solve the riddle of the Sphinx, you're like, oh well, this would be crazy for me to fucking get angry over this because this fucking person just doesn't get it, and it's me who essentially has forgotten the answer again. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. But what do I know?
Well, John, like it was really good catching up. Like we haven't talked in a bit, but it's always great to see your self-actualization come in these rooms. It's always fun to hear.
Thanks.
But hey, I think I'm breaking out.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but hey, if you're ever around the DC, the den of snakes, you should let me know because you're more than welcome. Because I don't know, I wouldn't really consider you a friend, more like a parasocial relationship. But maybe if we met in person, it'd be kind of cool.
No, plan on next year because I should have gone to CPAC this year. My friend Max went to CPAC, and he was sending me all these pictures of everybody you see on X, and you're like, holy shit, I should have gone to this. So count down next year, next February, I'll go to CPAC, and you'll be an executive at the company, and we'll go create political content at CPAC because I realize politics is awesome, but the chances of getting in are very minimal at best. But creating political content with essentially gossip is a very fun place to be because it's dealing with communication and essentially the disruption of people's vibration. So it's a fun place to be if you know that you're playing a game and other people are also playing a game, but they don't know the game you're playing. So it makes it even more fun to bring spirituality or enlightenment into politics because my sister wisely said one time that every politician wants to be a philosopher, and every philosopher wants to be a politician. I was like, holy shit, that's the smartest thing you've ever fucking said to me. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, I promise you, I'm not a serial killer or anything like that. I would guess the least deranged person on Clubhouse besides you, and maybe a couple of other people, what's his name, Zach. There's a couple of other people here on Clubhouse that I would say.
Well, listen, dude, we talk so much. It's there's no point in meeting. There's no point in meeting because we've already talked so much. You see what I'm saying? It would be the same convo. We've already had a convo, which is so advanced that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is if we do meet up, we have to kill 2, 3, or 4 birds with one stone. So if we go to CPAC, we'll solve, our own riddle, essentially.
Sort of multi-layered, create some political content, do some distribution, create some, drama, some gossip. Yeah.
See, Clubhouse is the perfect environment to master this. And when you take this technique and this knowledge outside of Clubhouse to a place like CPAC or the Democratic National Committee Convention, you can cause so much chaos because
there was this one guy, who went to the DNC convention and he was interviewing, the Democratic operatives, really, beautiful looking women, saying so where are all the beautiful looking, guys out here? And they're saying, well, they're not really here. They're at the Republicans, there's not really hot looking guys that work for the DNC. So it was really, he was acting gay and flamboyant to gain further sort of access to their inner thoughts and everything else. So yeah, it's really cool.
Did you see the fake Doge raids in San Francisco? Some guy put on a jacket that said Doge and had a Doge hat and a cameraman and a laptop, and he walked into some San Francisco politician bureaucrat's office. He's like, I'm here from Doge. We're here to do your audit, man. And he's like, man, put this USB stick in your laptop. Do it right now. And she's like, I'm not submitting to this. This is ridiculous. And so, that is the mimetic, where it's whether it's real or not, the thing is how much Doge they need? It's insane. They need to create they technically created a new agency called Doge, and we're so memetized that we think it's all just, fake, but like, I mean, this could be, it is a big time. I mean, this is a huge victory. I feel like we need like 6 months of celebration to grasp the problem that is essentially afoot, which has been going on for probably longer than 20 years, probably forever. I mean, because you can look at the devaluation of the dollar, since 1925, and you're like, it's worth a penny now. What the fuck happened? It's crazy.
Well, I just arrived home. It was good talking, man. Like, I really appreciate it. It was a good conversation. So,
just try to kill more birds. Try to kill more birds with one stone. You're doing great work, man. I mean, I've posted all of your stuff on X. You need to work on your titles. Like, there's a way to spruce it up, but there's other things. It's like, once you really do a good title, submit it to Reddit, submit it to X, just post it to all the shareable places.
I did see that you got banned from Reddit. Reddit is like a hell site, man. The swarm hive mind on Reddit.
It takes a long time to get banned, though. It takes a long time to build karma. Anyways, I know you gotta go, so God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, take care.